All right. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Diggs Sideline Podcast. My name is Sam DeCosmo.
And my name is Pat.
And what a week we had, Pat.
Boy.
You know, last week the highs were high, and this week the lows are low.
You know, I just want to get out of the air. Roger, out of the way. Rodgers has always given me nightmares.
Yeah.
And this is kind of how I felt going into the game.
It was, I didn't feel good going into the game, especially with it being at Lambeau Field, and just the whole circumstances. It's still early. Everybody's still healthy. I was nervous, but I'm going to be honest, Pat. I thought we had their number. I really did.
Yeah. So let's just get right to it.
Yeah. So we won the coin toss.
Yeah.
Great start to the game.
Defense on the field, I did love that.
Yeah.
I love the defense because they can set the tone.
Yeah.
And I think my heart dropped a little bit how fast Green Bay started.
So yeah.
Right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want. So yeah, let's just kind of go through the game.
Yeah.
So Green Bay starts. They score on their first 3 possessions.
Immediately.
Touchdowns.
Yeah. It was flawless. I'm going to give credit, okay?
Yeah.
Rodgers, phenomenal. He looked calm. He looked comfortable, you know? Every pass he was making, he was pumped. You know, he's doing that little pump fake or that pump that he does.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were just running, and they were running the ball too, and the defense looked slow and sloppy.
I said last week on the podcast that Aaron Rodgers was going to throw the ball 40 times and Aaron Jones was going to run no more than 10. I think they said on the TV today that Aaron Jones set a career high for carrying attempts, and it was like 20-something like that.
Yeah, 23.
Yeah. So, I mean, wow. They must have listened to the Dig Sideline podcast and made some last-minute adjustments.
They must have. But I think something that I just want to point out, I can't help but feel like week 1 got into everyone's head, and including us. I mean, we're having a little too much fun last week, and, you know, week 1, it was a blowout. We're enjoying it. But I think the defense and all of that was in our heads, and then, you know, it come into Lambeau and looked sloppy to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So we came up with a defensive game plan, and it did not work.
No,
the Packers had our number. But here's what. So they scored on their first 3 possessions, all in the first quarter, and then they didn't score the ball. They didn't score once after that. We made our defensive adjustments, and we were able to shut them down.
Right. Yeah. No, we made adjustments, and, you know, that's just gonna. Why don't we let's just dive right into it. Let's not hold this up any more than we need to. Kirk Cousins, it was poor.
It was, yeah. And so here's the thing: he'll have a bad game, and then he'll get up to the media and say, "Oh, I'm really disappointed with how I played. I need to play better." And he goes out and he blows the big game again.
Yeah, and even I was watching, you know, his that interview with him, and I was reading articles and comments and everything that you could, you know, get your hands on, and everyone was so impressed with how well he handled it. And it's like, you know what? If anyone knows me, I've been a Kirk Cousins supporter from day one.
Me too.
Yeah, you too as well. I mean, through thick and thin, he's had games, all the criticism, you know, everything, the contract and everything. And this is the first time that my eyes were opened.
Yeah.
And
me too.
Yeah.
This is the first, like, for the last year and a game, everybody's been critical of Kirk Cousins, and I've been defending him. I've been supporting him. I've been defending him, saying, hey, it's not him who's calling the plays. It's not him doing this, that, or the other thing. But today is the day where I finally say today was Kirk's fault.
He could have robbed a bank last year.
Yeah. And
I would have said it was the offensive line's fault. I would have said anything. He could have murdered someone. I don't know. I would have defended him.
Absolutely.
But
so here, I want to point out why I think today was Kirk's fault. So our defense gave up 3 touchdowns on the first 3 possessions, and then they didn't allow the Packers to score another point. All right, so we had to make some adjustments there, and then the defense shut them down after that. So in my mind, the defense did their job. The offense, 10 of the 11 offensive players did their job. I want you to tell me what Delvin's stat line was today.
His stats were 20, 154 yards, a TD, and a 7.7 yard average.
So wait, 20 rushes.
Yep. 154 yards.
154 yards on the ground.
Yep. 7.7 yard average.
7.7 yard average.
And then that 1 TD, which was for 75 yards, which jump-started us.
How many receiving yards did he have?
Good question. Yeah, 3 for 37.
Okay, so he
caught
did
all his targets. He did what he needed to do out of the
backfield. He was very
backfield.
close to having 200 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, right.
Dalvin had a day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And he jump-started what was just completely pathetic on offense. He pulled us out of the grave. I felt sick going into 21-0, and then, it came back from commercial break or whatever it was, the kickoff. And then out of the gate, I was like, wow. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. I was so frustrated that I was like, abandon what we're doing, because it's 21-0 and we're sitting there under center, and the Packers defense is much improved. I must give credit.
Yeah.
And they're getting to Cousins. Yeah.
Has it figured out.
Yeah. And, we're still sitting there under center, doing this like play action-y, no one's getting open. And I was getting so frustrated. But then, Cook luckily.
It was so funny. About 30 seconds before Cook broke off on that huge run, it was the commenter saying, gee, I think the Vikings should maybe abandon the run here. And then Dalvin runs for 75 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of funny. So the receivers did have a tough time getting open, but they did get open on a lot of plays. There was that one play where Diggs had beat his man.
Yeah.
And Kirk overthrew him.
So I'm torn on that. I do want to sit here and just completely destroy the guy. But I won on that play because for just a second, if you watch the highlight, Diggs did let up just for a second. Just for a second, he let up because they played the replay, and just for a second, I think that threw everything off.
But regardless, he wasn't making a move or anything like that.
We got to look back at it, but still, he was wide open.
I want to blame Kirk.
Yeah, blame Kirk because there was a couple more. There was one to Diggs too, or he was underthrowing. He was severely underthrowing the whole game.
He was underthrowing for the first 2.5 quarters, and then he was overthrowing.
Yeah. Right.
Diggs, and then that one to Thielen.
Right. Yeah. But, yeah, extremely underthrown. And then Thielen had to, on the end zone, he basically had to, I don't think he pass interfered, but he had to basically bat the ball down in the end zone because it was going to get picked.
Yeah. That was, okay. So it's essentially a game-winning drive. We knew that we were going to have to make one more stop on the Packers on defense. It's essentially a game-winning drive. We've been pounding the rock, ticking the clock, and Dalvin is just... He is getting his 7.5 to 8.2 yards per carry average that he was getting, and they couldn't slow Dalvin down. It's 1st and goal on the 6, and it was probably the right time to throw the ball because we had just pounded the rock down their throat, and they weren't expecting pass. They were still expecting run, and we could have kept running until it didn't work, but we didn't. We passed the ball, which you can argue was or was not the right call, but it was so bad. Yeah,
and you know what? Are you alluding to it being bad on Cousins' part or the call?
Well, because no, it wasn't even. No, I think that the call. I think if I was the offensive coordinator, I would have kept calling runs until they showed any signs of resistance. But they called the pass when they probably weren't expecting it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if don't force it, man.
Yeah.
So, Thielen was your first look. He wasn't open. Diggs was your second look. He was in double coverage, and you force it to him anyway.
And so that's where I'm torn because I thought it was an okay call for play action.
Yeah.
So they did at least fake it to be a run. But, Cousins that was Mitchell Trubisky against the Packers week 1. Same thing in the opposite corner of the end zone,
Yeah. It was abysmal.
Yeah. It's just, we're just both just sighing. It's like this is a guy who's been in the league for how long, and he's getting paid how much money, and those are the kind of mistakes. It literally felt like that was his rookie year, his second game in the league is what it felt like.
Yeah,
speechless.
So our team did everything they could to win that game, and Kirk did everything he could to lose that game.
Right.
Speaking of our team showing up to play today, I want to talk about Chad Beebe.
Yeah,
dude. What was that play? He got a look and he just took it.
Well, that was another play though. Are you talking about the 61-yarder?
Yeah.
So Cousins was actually in the process of going down to the ground. If I don't know if you remember or not, but he was literally being tackled down to the ground, and he just kind of lobbed it to him, and then Beebe just took it and ran with it. And that another jump spark. We're bailing out Cousins again, and but Beebe, it was great.
Harrison Smith. He showed up to work today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I think there were two.
Harrison Smith.
I'm rocking my Smith
Harrison
jersey
Smith.
too. Smith baby. There was one in particular drive where Rodgers made a deep throw to, I don't know if it was Adams or who it was, and he broke it up. And then on the very next play on a 3rd and 3, they would have got the first down. It wasn't. I'm sorry. Whatever it was like another running back play, and they kind of went back the other way, and Smith, tackled them from behind again, and they had to punt.
Yeah. Where he saved the first down.
Yeah, he saved the first down, and they had to punt again. He gave another try to the offense. Again, because they didn't score until, it was like, 5 minutes into the second quarter was the last, I think, touchdown or something like that. Yeah.
Man. So, I'm disappointed with Kirk Cousins. I'm disappointed with Dan Bailey.
Oh, man. How did I almost forget?
He missed a 47-yard field goal, took 3 points off the board.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. Can somebody who specializes in the department of kicking field goals, holding field goals, being a center, snapping the ball, long snapper, like anything, please enlighten me. I need to know.
I will enlighten you because I have the answer. I don't have the answer to the problem of how do we fix it, but I know why it's happening.
What's I don't get it.
All right, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of fact checking on this and a lot of historical research, and I'll get back to you. But the story goes, we were in New Orleans. The year was like 1970 something, right? So we were in New Orleans, and back then the team, all football players, they were kind of scoundrels, and our kicker went out to a local bar, a local pub, and found this beautiful woman, decided to have a one-night stand with her, and he had a great time. Little did he know that this woman's mother was a voodoo witch. And so she was very upset with the Minnesota Vikings kicker that she cursed all Minnesota Vikings kickers from here to eternity. So this is why we've been having these issues. It's the only explanation. Dan Bailey, before he came to us, was the most accurate kicker in the league.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, there's your answer, everyone. I think we can close the podcast down and call it a career.
I'm so sorry. I heard that story once, and I'm like, it's the only thing that makes sense.
It's gotta be it.
It's probably all a lie. But
if it helps us sleep at night, then let's roll with it.
So yeah, Dan Bailey.
So not even Bailey. Can we also talk about just the mental errors and the amount of penalties that were in the game?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm gonna throw out Diggs' name. Yeah, he made that huge catch, for the touchdown, but he took his helmet off.
Okay,
and that pushed us back for a 35-yard PAT.
Yeah, it was a PAT, so it made it a 48-yard attempt. Now, I am not. So when in the moment, I was so mad at the officiating because that was after, and we'll I'm sure we'll talk about the incident. We'll just call it the incident. But. No, so I could see the frustration in Diggs' eyes, and he catches a play, and he's like, throw a flag on me now, because that was as clean as it gets. So he took the helmet off in frustration and excitement and energy, and people I was watching the game with were like, oh, so dumb. But I was like, you know what? Let the kid have it, because he's overcoming right now, and the odds are stacked against him. Let's talk about these OPIs.
Yeah. No, I get that. In the heat of the moment, you see players all the time getting in arguments and fights, and it's just you're in the heat of the argument or the moment, But at the end of the day, Zimmer's not going to say, hey, Stefan, you did a good job. I understand you were just in the heat of the moment. It's okay.
Right.
Zimmer's not going to...
It cost us. It cost us some. And I can't remember if it was on the missed PAT or the missed field goal, but the snap was bad anyway. What had happened? I saw it was low, and so it hit the ground on the broadside. So then Colquitt had to kind of pick it up and make sure it was upright. So Bailey came in late. So,
which would maybe explain, because I didn't know that. Which would maybe explain why the guy he got like a full frontal on the freaking block. But
yeah, because that ball was blocked. Yeah, that's right. That PAT was blocked. So yeah, I think that So these OPI. So let's talk about that first one on Diggs, where the refs took the points off the board.
Mm-hmm.
So Diggs, it was a quick slant to Diggs, touchdown, everybody celebrating, and all scoring plays are reviewed by the booth. Cool. Scoring plays are reviewed to make sure that the person who scored crossed the line.
Now that's where I am confused. I sat there staring at the TV, I was just confused. Is there something that I don't know? Is there something that we don't know?
So for people that might have missed it or are confused, so what happened was all scoring plays are reviewed, and it was reviewed. So scoring plays are reviewed to make sure that the player crossed the plane for that end and that wasn't actual touchdown. What they're not being reviewed for is other extraneous things that weren't called on the field, like penalties. So because this year, pass interference, both offensive and defensive, you can be reviewed by coach's challenge,
So
that's why they took a look at it.
So did the Packers throw a challenge flag?
The Packers did not throw a challenge flag.
That's where I'm having an issue.
Even the Packers
with
were confused. And when they came back to give their judgment, they didn't even give Dalvin's number or whoever it was that was the culprit. They just said, yeah, we found some offensive pass interference.
And listen, I don't know where you stand on it, but I like to believe that I see things fairly. You know, but okay, so it did look 50-50. Like Cook was running his route, but he also kind of had his hands on him because he was going through,
Yeah.
So it did look kind of like,
and it was like we were on the 2-yard line, so it was like right off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. And so I get that, but then on the one hand, it felt really, really petty, and then on top of it, to have it called back on the touchdown review, you know, that's where I was frustrated.
If the Packers threw a challenge flag to ask for OPI to be reviewed, that's one thing.
Then I'm all for it. I'm like, you guys called it and they gave it to you.
Nothing was called. Yeah,
and that's why I'm frustrated, And yes, everyone, Packer fans are gonna come on and say, oh, fairness part of the game, blah blah blah. But I mean, are we getting into such a problem in the NFL now where like everything is gonna be called and like defenders don't know what to do, offensive players don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, so let's look at the rest of the because there were like 3 more OPIs on the day. So the next one was on Diggs, and it was right before the half, and he was creating a little bit of separation with the defender. They were both going for the ball, and they were just kind of like both of them kind of had their hands on each other, and they called Diggs on the OPI, and it was like that. In my opinion, that wasn't credible. Now later in the game, there was a similar situation with one of the Packers wide receivers. I think it was Valdez-Scantling, or maybe it was Devontae Adams. And they called him on the same thing. So it's like, all right, at least they were consistent with their calls. I get that. But come on. You got to let them play. That's every catch in the NFL. They're touching each other with their hands. And then the other one was on Thielen, and I think that was pretty shady too.
The one on Thielen was for sure not. And it was the back judge who called it. So he was seeing everything from behind Thielen and the defender.
Yeah.
But if you look at that, the defender actually initially pushed off on him to create separation, and then Thielen had to make up ground to come around and try and like swat it out of his hands,
Yeah, and for those who don't remember this specific play we're talking about, it's when Cousins threw it deep to Thielen in the end zone, and it was a contested ball.
Yeah, and let me say it was again underthrown.
Yeah, Thielen had to stop and go back for it.
So frustrated. There was multiple plays that Thielen had to stop and come back for the ball.
Yes.
There was another one down the sideline too that Thielen barely. That was the one that he caught. He had to it was again underthrown. But man, I was just so frustrated with Cousins.
Our team did everything we could do to win today, and Cousins gave the game up. Yeah, solely himself.
But wait, Sam. But he in the press conference he said he was sorry and it wasn't his best. So everything's all good.
I don't know.
I'm joking.
I don't know a way out of this situation.
I don't either. And and here's the thing. We're going to play the Raiders next week, and he might have, a 250-yard 3 TD performance, and it's going to be great, and everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows again. But you know what? I'm going to talk about myself, and you can chime in. I finally see it.
Yeah.
I think I've finally I think I've been too prideful to think that Cousins has been our guy, and maybe it's because of all the money we gave him. The situation we had to let Case Keenum go. So it's kind of like this. We got to hang on to it.
How do you feel about Case Keenum now?
Well, I'm still not like, I still don't want him as my starter. I mean, how are the Redskins doing?
Sure.
Anyways.
I think they're 0-2.
Yeah, they're 0-2. But another thing I want to talk about, going back to Cousins, he just doesn't have that bang, bang, explosive, game-changing type thing. You know what I mean? That factor. You got Mahomes, you got Lamar Jackson. These are all newer guys.
Those guys, they walk out with a minute 20 left on the clock, one timeout maybe. They're down by 4 points, and they're going to make a game-winning drive. And
that if maybe they don't even get the game-winning drive, but a valid effort was put forward.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Is it Cousins? Is it the way that our offense is designed, where it's like this? Because majority of our plays are under center. And it's kind of like a run-first mentality. So I don't know if there's like a cloud over him, and he doesn't feel like. When he is asked to do something, he's like, well, I've been under center all day and I haven't had to do anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Man. I was so frustrated that game. It's just, it is what it is. And you know what? And let's talk about the Packers a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's give the Packers some credit.
Yeah, the Packers.
Let's talk about the Packers.
They came out. They obviously watched film and did an analysis on our defense. They found out where they could poke holes from whatever film they were watching, and they exploited it for their first 3 drives. And props off to them.
Yeah.
Again, I will say that we made some defensive adjustments, and I think that we handled the game well. That's the way football's supposed to be played.
Right.
Mike Pettin's defense is definitely not Dom Capers' defense. Dom Capers would not have put up a defensive performance like that. Mike Pettin knows what he's doing, and he has some young talent to support that. So, it's going to be difficult coming forward. And you know what? Let's give them a little bit more credit. Maybe Matt Nagy last week was put together a semi-decent game plan, and the Packers defense shut them down.
Yeah.
In years past, the Packers identity has been in their offense, and I think that we're starting to see a little bit more of a balanced approach from them. So, yeah, I will absolutely give the Packers credit, and I am absolutely giving Kirk Cousins his licks.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, the Packers D, they really did a great job. Their front four and front seven were phenomenal.
Yeah.
They did a great job. And then I was just impressed with the run game.
Yeah.
Alex Stadnick, I told you to never play Aaron Jones for the rest of the season. I just thought it was going to be another Bears thing with our defense, and they, something just worked well. Whatever matchup they had in the first half, and I guess it carried to the second half too. But and then Rodgers looked like himself in the first half.
Yeah.
That, whenever he's fist pumping, you just don't feel good.
Yeah. I do think had the same game been played at US Bank Stadium, it might have been a little bit different.
For sure. On the road, it's always a different story.
Right.
A big rivalry.
Yeah. I will say big shout out to Vikings fans. I saw a lot of purple in the stadium today. Granted, I wasn't at the game, but just watching on TV, it was sprinkled in there pretty good. So we traveled well. Good job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job,
for sure.
fans.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that was just a tough one to watch. That was tough. And I think what made it worse was that it always felt like it was always within reach.
Yeah.
Especially after Dalvin's run.
And Chad Beebe's big play.
Right, exactly. And then you got kicked out. It was like penalty.
It was Kirk Cousins and the refs.
But we had a lot of penalties too, though.
It was over 100 yards in penalties.
Yeah, and then there was even one on Rhodes. It was like a pass interference in the middle of the field near the end of the second half. I think they ended up going for it on fourth down on that particular drive. But I mean, I don't know, man. It was a sloppy game, and we would have been lucky to come out with a win.
It was funny. So I was watching with a bunch of Packers fans, and it was towards the end of the game, and it was what we punted and they fair caught, or that he waited for a fair catch, and then he came off the fair catch to try to. No, it wasn't that play. I forget which play it was. But anyway, so it was a penalty, and it was against the Packers. But the Packers fans that I was watching with just had been conditioned to, when they saw a flag, they're like, oh, something good is going to happen, or oh, it's against the Vikings,
right?
Or, what I mean? So it's just like,
yeah,
it's whenever and especially at Lambeau Field, when the refs, man, I want to see how many penalties were called this game and how many went against the Vikings, because it was
right.
It just seemed like it was every play, and even the commentators towards the end of the game,
right? Yeah, they were making jokes. They started joking around.
Yeah, there was a play where there was not a flag, and they're like, "Hey, finally a play where we don't have to stop."
Right. Yeah, and then they were making jokes too. Like, one of the penalties was on the Packers, and they were like shocked it wasn't on us.
Yeah.
I don't know, and we're not sitting here trying to blame the game on the refs. Not at all.
Let them play.
There were not a handful, but there was a decent amount where they felt like really petty, kind of BS calls.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
we'll live, we'll learn, we'll get over it.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody has a short memory. My biggest takeaway is that 21 guys did a really good job today on the Vikings, and it's unfortunate that the one guy that didn't show up to work today was probably the most important piece on the field.
Exactly. And I'll try and do one more takeaway. I think this can be looked at as a humbling and an eye-opening experience for the team. So I think if Zimmer's going to preach anything, it's going to be that you guys are not all it. Mm-hmm. And yes, you dominated a poor Atlanta defense and team, and just to open your eyes and not be so, prideful. Yeah. And he was even telling the team, all week, everyone's going to say how great you are. You guys are amazing, but
yeah. And for all the fans out there that might think like, oh, we lost, this is it, bury the season. The year we went 13-3 with Case Keenum and went to the NFC Championship, we did start that year 2-2. and we ended 13-3.
Yeah, and just one more piece to reiterate. I'm not saying that we can't go to the playoffs and we can't win a Super Bowl with Cousins. I'm just saying I'm realizing that he is not as great and he's not worth as much money as he's getting paid.
We're winning in spite of him.
Exactly, yeah.
He's able to kind of help deliver the game, but the game plan that's been laid out for him, but he's not going to be the guy that walks out with a minute 20 seconds, one timeout, needs a touchdown, and is going to do it.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
And Kirk, if you're listening, prove us wrong, man.
Please. I'm begging you, buddy. Prove me wrong. All right, so join us next week, or not next week, next episode. It should be dropping later this week. We'll be previewing the Vikings-Raiders game, and hopefully that is going to be good. And I am excited to watch some John Gruden tape.
I am too, yeah. John Gruden he's grown on me.
Yeah.
I think initially when he was hired and the amount of money he's getting, it was fun to poke fun at the Gruden and all that.
Yeah.
But with him handling all the AB stuff and even after the first game, he was afterwards he was shaking hands with all the fans. He was running around the stadium. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of like the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard not to like him.
Yeah. So big episode next week. We got the Raiders at home, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'd have to double check.
Okay,
I don't know.
I think it's at home. But
yeah. Awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Skol Vikings.